as the United States accelerates its support for Ukraine, announcing additional aid, global tensions intensifies. This decisive move underscores a commitment to bolster Ukraine's defenses. Concurrently, Ukraine has seized the transit of Russian gas to Europe, marking a significant shift in energy dynamics. These developments signal a pivotal moment in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, with far-reaching implications for global stability. Welcome to Think Tank.
Our world is becoming unhinged.
The United States has announced a $5.9 billion aid package for Ukraine, including $1.25 billion in military support through the Presidential Drawdown Authority, which draws from U.S. stockpiles, and $3.4 billion in economic assistance to sustain government services and intensify Russian attacks. U.S. President Joe Biden emphasized rapid delivery of critical weapons such as air defense systems and artillery while revitalizing U.S. defense industries. The Luxembourg Times has reported that this package represents one of Biden's final moves towards President-elect Donald Trump takes office, who has pledged to either increase aid or halt it to push for a settlement of the Ukrainian crisis. The announcement underscores the U.S.'s significant role, with over $65 billion in military aid provided since the year 2022. While the aid bolsters Ukraine's defense, concerns about continued Russian advances in eastern Ukraine and the depletion of U.S. stockpiles loom large. Biden's administration stresses the urgency of support, while Trump's plans could signal a dramatic shift in United States involvement. Providing more analysis about the recent U.S. aid to Ukraine amid the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, joining us from Washington is Mr. Joel Robin, a former Deputy Assistant of the United States Secretary of State, and from Kiev, Mr. Ivan Yuas, an advisor at the Ukrainian National Center. Welcome, and of course on the first day of 2025, such a contentious subject that we have to be discussing today. Mr. Rubin, a very good day.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
Sir, what strategic objectives is the Biden administration aiming to achieve with the latest aid package to Ukraine?
Well, what we're seeing right now is President Biden fulfilling his commitment to Ukraine and the American people's commitment to Ukraine. These are funds that have been appropriated and supported by the Congress for assistance to Ukraine. And this is what the American people expect. But of course, he's also trying to ensure that Ukraine has as much material and supply as it can because of the uncertainty about Donald Trump and the question about whether or not President-elect Trump will continue to support Ukraine militarily in the face of this Russian assault on Ukraine's sovereignty. So this is a bit of a safety measure for Ukraine to ensure that A, they are getting as much as they are owed and deserve, frankly, from the American people, from our support, but also B, that they are prepared for the event, the potential event of Donald Trump reducing his support for Ukraine.
Sir, I think that Donald Trump made a statement stating that he will not be supporting Ukraine when he gets inaugurated as the U.S. president on the 20th of January.
Well, he has said a lot of different things about Ukraine. It's clear he does not support Ukraine overall in terms of this fight. He's consistently taken the position that Vladimir Putin and Russia have articulated about their rights to have parts of Ukraine, and he's called Vladimir Putin a strategic genius for this invasion. I don't know how one can be described a genius when they've brought their economy to a standstill, lost 300,000 of their own civilians and their own citizens, that is, in this war of choice. But so Trump has a bias towards Russia, but there also will be pressure on him from the Congress, from Republicans in Congress as well, to continue to support Ukraine and try to get to a negotiated settlement that Ukraine can live with. Of course, that's the key question. The speculation in Washington is he may try to force Ukraine into accepting a deal that it does not want, and then we're going to be into some very difficult global dynamics.
Sir, I'll leave it there and I'll be back again to ask you why the pressure is going to be from the Congress, from the Republicans, not the Democrats. But I'll go back to Mr. U.S. How critical is this U.S. assistance for Ukraine's current military operations amid the ongoing conflict, sir?
Masali Kerem in Kiev, my greetings to studio guests and audience. First of all, Happy New Year. And as for the critical critical aspect of this support, of course, it's critical because the experience of 3 years of full-scale war demonstrated that thanks to support of the United States of America, Ukraine stopped Russian aggression at the beginning of war, stabilized situation, and the fact that we're still in war, that Russia that planned to conquer Kiev for 4 days and the whole Ukraine for two months, actually for the third year now in this war, and much that happened due to the support of the United States and due to the weapon that Ukraine support from United States of America. Of course, European partners so helped us, but let's be frank, due to many reasons, after the end of the Second World War, European countries are not paying such large attention to military aspect, to development of its military forces. That's why the United States of America have more options and more opportunities to give this weapon. That's why for Ukraine it's critical to preserve good connection with US under the all-new president. So that's why we will see what will be, because all statements that Trump could change support to Ukraine, I think that it's based on some controversial statement of Donald Trump. But before election, you always say a lot. And what is you do actually after the 20th of January, after inauguration, it could be horse of another color. So we will see.
Mr. U.S., how did you read Joe Biden's support to Ukraine when he added extra military aid today? How did you read this? What's your narrative on this?
Oh, of course, the sentence to President Joe Biden, to people in the United States of America who are supporters of such idea, because we understand that in every country there are always different moves, and in the United States of America too. One of them try to preserve the role of US in the global war. The other so-called illusionists, so people who think that the United States of America should not interfere to global cases, and closed in itself. I think that those people who support more active role of US, like Joe Biden, of course, they promote this support, they give this package, and it's a attempt of Joe Biden to demonstrate to people in the United States of America and whole world that in the textbook of the histories, he will be a person who make a big income into Ukrainian final victory.
Okay, so, Mr. Rubin, I asked you a question why the Congress and the Republicans will be the main supporters, and yes. I'll go on, and after you ask me, you answer this question and ask you another question, sir.
Yeah, look, Republicans in Congress are patriots, and they care about American allies, global leadership, strong support for NATO. We see this, for example, in the nominee for the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. He's a senator, a Republican from the Senate. He's a very strong ally of Russia. And I'm sorry, I say of Russia, I meant of Ukraine. Very strong ally of Ukraine. But we'll see what happens when it goes to work for Donald Trump regarding Russia. But these are the kinds of Republicans who stand up for American values and have been pushing forward and supporting overwhelmingly by 3/4 the aid packages for Ukraine.
What about the
That
Democrats, sir?
Well, all the Democrats have been supporting the aid for Ukraine overwhelmingly. The thing that's unique about this moment, however, is that Donald Trump, who won the election, has a vice president, J.D. Vance, who's one of the minority of the Republicans in Congress who opposes aid to Ukraine. He was the leading voice against aid to Ukraine. He will now be the vice president. And Trump made an argument to his voters as well that we needed to stop funding Ukraine. So there will be a clash. There will be a moment when we see this question about continued aid to Ukraine come into focus. It's not going to be in the next few weeks, but it will be soon enough. And Ukraine will ask for American support to continue. And the pressure will come from Congress to continue that. And Donald Trump will have to be making some hard decisions. He can't resolve this, as he claimed during the campaign, through a couple of phone calls and end the war in one day. And he knows
in 24
that.
hours, sir, that when he said
right.
so in his statement when he was in his campaign, sir. Sir, how might this surge in military assistance shape U.S. foreign policy during the transition to Trump's presidency?
Well, what we're seeing, and I think that this is a very important point, is that there is only one president, but there are two men who are sort of acting as if they're president. Donald Trump is hosting many foreign leaders at Mar-a-Lago, but he does have he does have an outside voice globally, so he will have opinions about this. That said, President Biden is the one who has the power and the control, and he has the ability to make these decisions. And so for the Trump team, they are trying to find ways to deal with the last few weeks of the Biden administration decisions in many areas, not just in foreign policy, where there will be, for example, rules put in place on domestic policies that the Trump team will likely try to reverse when they come into power on January 20th.
And, sir, much happens in 20 days.
That's right. That's right. It's a major change in American policy.
Yes, let's wait and see, sir. Now we move on to Mr. U.S. How does this aid package align with NATO's broader strategy in this conflict, sir?
Of course, this package helps Ukraine at least in nearest future. So it gives to us opportunity, be sure that the support will be at least for some period. And that period will be a period of discussion between Ukraine and the new administration, an explanation to them that if Donald Trump want to make America great again, the victory of Ukraine could be a part of that new greatness. Because in case of loss of Ukraine, it will be victory of Russia, it will be victory of China, and hardly Donald Trump want to see victory of China versus the Western world, including the United States of America. For him, it's not in his interest, but it should be explained to him. And while we, Ukraine, will explaining that to Trump and to his administration, for that time, we will have this support, these packages of President Biden support that help to us to have this time for the explanation to next administration that it's in their interest to help to Ukraine and to make the same thing as their predecessors, I mean, Joe Biden and his administration actually do.
We will return to this interview shortly, but now let us watch this report, which looks into the intensifying Russia-Ukraine conflict, where the Biden administration's unprecedented support for Ukraine has shaped global security as concerns rise over future U.S. policy under Donald Trump. Stay tuned.
Since the Russia-Ukraine conflict started in February 2022, the Biden administration has provided over $100 billion in military, humanitarian, and financial aid to Ukraine, positioning the U.S. as a key leader in countering Russian actions. The Biden administration's approach was notably accelerated in the period leading to the 2024 presidential election. By late 2022 and early 2023, the administration moved swiftly to allocate up to $6 billion in aid to Ukraine, seeking to ensure that Ukraine's defense capabilities were robust before the potential shift in U.S. policy that could come with a Trump presidency. Biden's team fear that Trump's America First foreign policy might result in reduced support for Ukraine, endangering NATO cohesion and European stability. Trump's past skepticism toward NATO and Ukraine has raised concerns about U.S. commitments to the alliance and the future of military aid to Ukraine. In contrast, Biden has framed U.S. support as essential not only to Ukraine's defense but to preserving the international order and democratic principles. Slovak Defense Minister Robert Kalinek said on Sunday that Ukraine may need to give up part of its territory in order to achieve peace. In media statements, he quipped that Ukraine may not realize that it will never be between Germany and Switzerland, and that it will always share its longest border with Russia. The Biden administration's strategy reflects the intersection of domestic U.S. politics and international relations. By bolstering Ukraine's defense while navigating political uncertainties at home, Biden seeks to secure Ukraine's future and ensure a unified Western stance against Russian actions, ultimately shaping a legacy of strong international leadership amid shifting global dynamics.
Mr. Rubin, how is the Biden administration addressing criticism regarding the scale of United States spending on Ukraine's defense, sir?
Well, I think there are a couple of areas that the president and the administration are engaging in to try to reject that criticism. Of course, first and foremost is doing real actions, and that is exemplified by the funds that were just released, but also making partnerships stronger with our allies in NATO and our European allies to ensure that they understand exactly what needs to be done and provided in the event of an American reduction in support for Ukraine. And then, of course, the most important part, from my perspective, would be to continue to make the case to the Congress and the American people and into the media about why supporting Ukraine advances American national security, supports our allies, stands up for democracy, and really reflects the kind of role that America should be holding in the world. That argument they're making with Congress, and they'll continue to make that, I'm sure, over the next 2.5 weeks. But then that's it. And then Donald Trump will have his team in place, and we'll see if they try to reverse these moves quickly or if they choose a more moderate path and try to really engage as a leader in resolving this conflict equitably so that the Ukrainian people feel that they are supported and that Russia does not just get to steal land from a neighbor.
Mr. Rubin, in short, the conclusion of what you said now is that we're all awaiting U.S.-elect Donald Trump to know the ongoings that will take place with the Ukrainian-Russian, of course, a war.
We are, yes. It is going to be a very interesting change in leadership from the White House. There is a special envoy, I have to add, General Kellogg, who will be the point person for President-elect Trump on this issue. But already Russia has said they don't want to speak with him because they think he's too pro-Ukraine. So it will be very different from what we've gotten used to over the last nearly 3 years.
Okay, and now I move on to Mr. U.S. I want to ask you a very important question that we heard now in this interview, sir, in this report that was just on the screen now. Slovak Defense Minister said on Sunday that Ukraine may need to give up part of its territory in order to achieve peace. Your narrative, sir.
Several European countries who first of all think about natural gas from Russia but not about territorial integrity of other countries, they of course advise to Ukraine, please sacrifice by your territory because we need gas from Russian Federation. For them, it's natural to advise to other country, sacrifice by your territory. But Ukraine from the 2022 and even before, from 2014, we constantly repeat that it's our territory and we are not ready to sacrifice by our territory.
So, sir, your answer is Ukraine is not ready to sacrifice any of its territory for any reason.
Absolutely. That's why we're explaining that to Slovakia, that we will not do that. Of course, we understand why they're saying so, because they need, as I said, Russian gas. But
because they need the Russian gas?
Interest. Yes, because Slovakia now really angry, at least some part of their government, as Ukraine, starting from today, stop natural gas transporting by Ukrainian territory to European countries who, after 3 years of full-scale war, still want to pay money to Russia for natural gas. We say, guys, you should think about searching alternative ways. Russia is not the only country that's selling natural gas, so it should not be argument.
Okay, sir, with the halting of Russian gas transit, how is Ukraine balancing economic and military resilience amid escalating tensions?
So, of course, it's hard to Ukrainian economy, but we're still alive. Furthermore, The Economist, one of the most influential magazine in the sphere of economy in the world, wrote such an interesting article that Ukraine winning economic war versus Russia due to different parameters of economy. Because on the one hand, it's really hard to Ukraine. On the other, thanks to support of our partners who support us not only in the military way, but in economic too, Ukrainian economy can exist, can survive after all those constant shelling of our electricity generating facilities and other plants. But we, after decrease of economy and after the first year of war, starting from the 2023, we start demonstrating growth as it was in 2024. Project for current 2025, so Ukraine received some growth of economy, while Russia, for this year, actually has one prognosis that they received 0.5% growth of GDP, and in another actually prospect for Russia, it's decrease of economy to 1.5%. So that's why economically, thanks to partner, Ukraine actually winning this war, and as Institute of Study of War write in one of their research approximately 2 weeks ago, that for Russia it's very hard to preserve.
Okay, got your point, sir. Mr. Rubin, what are the implications of Ukraine halting Russian gas transit for European energy security and its alliance with the West, sir?
I mean, look, Russia has been supplying gas into Europe for nearly 6 decades. To cut that off will have major implications for Europe and for European countries, but they've been developing alternatives now for the past several years and have been preparing for such an eventuality, such a situation where they no longer have Russian gas coming into their energy supply. And I think that's a good thing for Europe to not be exploited and extorted by Vladimir Putin, by Russia, as they have been for years. And of course, the United States as well. We have been providing support to fill what we call backfill, to provide additional resources of gas into Europe over the past several years to ensure that they could handle this kind of change and transition. But this really goes to the bigger point, which is the Russian war of aggression on Ukraine has backfired on Russia. 300,000 plus Russians have been killed. They have not gained the territory they wanted. They have decimated their military. They are now importing soldiers from North Korea to fight on their behalf. And they are now getting cut off economically from relationships that have sustained them for decades. This is a bad deal for Russia. And so it's in Vladimir Putin's interest to end this war. And I hope that that's how Donald Trump looks at this as well. This is not a victory or a triumph for Russia.
Sir, all respect to your informative knowledge, and of course, sir, as the United States accelerates its support for Ukraine at this point today, on the first day of 2025, Joe Biden, of course, announcing additional aid. Global tensions intensify. That was Mr. Joel Rubin, a former Deputy Assistant of the United States Secretary of State. Thank you very much, sir. And Mr. Ivan Uas, an advisor of the Ukrainian National Center. Thank you very much for your valuable insights and your informative knowledge, and for making this episode possible. That brings us to the end of today's episode of Think Tank. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates on Qnews.